So I have some slight updates. My biggest update for me personally has been, now you see this computer behind me. This computer was not made to do Lightroom and Photoshop at the power level those are now at. When I got this computer, it was for photography, but it was when I didn't really know what I needed and what I was doing, so I did not get the nicest one or the biggest one. It's still a great computer, I still use it for things, but I had some issues. I'm gonna tell this story in case anybody else goes through this. So the night after my last wedding, I come home, offload everything, back it all up because I just want to be extra sure we're good. I had my R8, which only has one SD card. I had my R6, which has two, my 5D4, which has two, and that's what my husband uses. And then I had my X100V, which I did use a lot for like little reception photos and things when it's just less obvious that I'm carrying a camera around. Now, the funny thing is, the one with all my photos was pretty much the R6 because that's my main camera. And when I finally got to that one, and because this is a Mac with just the USB-C connectors, I had a external card reader hub thing. And I was offloading everything, and then all of a sudden I got to my R6 and like half the photos are saying they're not compatible with Lightroom and like something corrupted. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. So I switched the cards. Just thought, okay, maybe one memory card is going bad. They were newer cards. They're good cards. Didn't really think that should have happened. The same thing happened on the next card. And I was like, okay, now we're getting to something that's weird. And then I looked at my camera and I'm like, I put them back in my camera and I looked at them and I'm like, the images are there. They're all there. They're not corrupted. They're there. So I was like, okay, so something's going on. Finally, after looking up stuff and Googling things, I determined I think it's the card reader, which makes sense because it was just one I got to go with this computer. It wasn't from Apple. And I took my little card reader that can plug into my phone, put the card in that, went to Lightroom, and the photos all showed up. So I was like, okay, that narrowed it out. It was the card reader that was the issue. So my option was go get a new card reader the next day. And I was going to do that, but the computer was also having issues with not having enough storage anymore, not having enough, whatever the other memory is that helps things run. It just wasn't doing it because it wasn't made for that. I didn't buy the one with the specs for that when I bought this computer years ago because I wasn't doing the business I am now. I wasn't doing weddings back then. If I was doing very small ones and I was doing second shooting. I wasn't doing like my own full weddings. So now I got a MacBook Pro. This is the first MacBook Pro I've ever had. I had a really old MacBook for college, and then I had a MacBook Air when I graduated that I needed just to be able to get online and pay bills and stuff because that was when you couldn't do as much of that on cell phones back then. Dating myself here. I have a MacBook Pro now. Now, one of the nice things is they have put the SD card slot is back. So I don't have to have a card reader to use this now. Also, it is so fast. Like, I actually went and asked them, like, if this is what I do for my business, what do I need internally in the parts? Because I don't know enough about what I actually need in the parts. I can fix my own computers, I can set them up. I don't always know what all the internal stuff means. So they helped me, they got me the newest Pro, which I figured I needed anyway. It is so fast. It runs Lightroom and Photoshop so quickly and easily. And even with the like generative AI and stuff, I'm like, this is amazing. Also, what I've realized too is when I had weddings and I have like thousands of photos to cull through before I can actually go through them, I have to sit up here on my computer and like I already work in this office during the week. So like when I'm not working for work, I don't really want to sit in here for another like 8 hours working just up in this office. Like it's just not what I want to do. I want to be able to spend time with my husband. So this has actually allowed me to be able to sit down on the couch and go through my photos, doing the culling and even doing my editing while I'm sitting there with him, whether he's watching a movie or a show or whatever we're doing. And I'm also more comfortable that way. So like, I think that's why I got this wedding gallery done so fast. Like she got married on a Saturday. By the following, it wasn't the following Saturday. It might've been the Sunday or the Monday after that. Not the day after her wedding, but like a week and a couple days, I was done with it. I had culled the photos. I had gone through them. I had done all the like generative AI removal, all the extra Photoshop because I had to add sparklers into all their sparkler exit photos because they didn't turn out because it was like daylight still because, you know, it gets dark at like 9:30 now. So I had to do a lot of extra things and I still finished it that quickly. My husband was like, you've never finished a wedding gallery that fast. And I was like, I know, it's because I can carry this around the house now and just work wherever when we're doing stuff, which is great. I also feel like it's the kind of thing where if I ever wanted to go sit at like a coffee shop or something and work, which I would love to do, I can do that now. but I've also been able to use it for a lot of productivity stuff. So that's helpful too. I don't know all of the capabilities. I have been able to like, the ring light's gonna add to that, customize my like lock screen to make it, and my desktop screen to make it like a vision board for me. I've been able to add my calendar on there in a little widget, as well as like some inspirational verses, change all the stuff to make it look like I want to open my computer and use it, which sounds silly, but it's kind of the same way that like the Fujifilm cameras make me want to take photos when I'm not feeling as inspired. And so this has been really good. Now, I don't plan on doing as many weddings. I don't love doing weddings. I do them when I get them occasionally. I also don't take every wedding I get. Part of it is I work a full-time job during the week. So if I'm working a full-time job and then I do weddings, that's my entire week is work. And that's not worth it to me. I'd rather spend time with friends, with family, with my husband. Even though he would be second shooting with me, it's still not the same. When we did that last wedding, it was a 10-hour day. I was worn out. It was also a 96-degree day, so it was a lot. I was so exhausted and worn out, and just like I feel like I don't drink, but I feel like I was in a hangover the next day because like I just felt like so lousy, and I don't want to feel like my whole weekend is like that. So I also stress leading up to them because I want it to be as perfect for these brides as I can. If wedding photography was like what it used to be, or like I know some people are still like that, where it's more just about documenting the day as it happens. Don't worry about posing people. Don't worry about getting these exact shots at these exact times and worrying about like brides that are so particular about that, then I probably would still enjoy it. But just the way it's going anymore, I don't love doing it. It's too much pressure. I like doing the smaller shoots. I like doing engagement shoots. I like doing maternity photos for people and like pregnancy announcements. I love doing photos for my church and for like other events and things. I did a parade yesterday for 4th of July. Those are more where I really like doing things. I'm going to do some photos for my old high school dance team in the fall. Like those are the kind of things I think that I would like to focus on. A lot of my friends have kids, and so I could do family photos, but I also know that that's just not my area. So unless I really like trained on myself on that, I don't see myself doing that. So my photography business is still just a side business. It's not going to be my main business. I thought about that at one point, but I like having a steady paycheck, and especially with the economy right now, people just aren't booking people as much because they're trying to save money on things. And photography, kind of like salon services, is something people just can cut out and say, I don't need that right now. So I'm fine with that. I still love photography. I love making content, but I feel like I'm happier about photography when I'm not being pressured with stuff. Like that wedding, the week leading up to, was so stressful for me because the bride was very particular about things, and she wanted all these things that were not going to fit in the timeline. And even the day of, they didn't all fit in the timeline. And people were like, wow, how'd you get all that done? And I was like, we did not, because thankfully she just trusted me eventually, and we worked with what we had, and they ended up loving the photos. She's like, oh, this is actually a nice location. These look really good. And I'm like, yes. So anymore, I don't love doing weddings, especially like super long, intense weddings. Like I said, if someone just wanted me to come just photograph their ceremony, just kind of behind the scenes, get photos, like I'm fine with that. But anymore, that's kind of where I'm at. So I still have some weddings on the books that I'm excited to do, but I just don't take very many. I take a few a year, and that's it, because even if I did one a month, that would be a lot on top of a full-time regular job. So that's kind of my updates. So yesterday in the parade, I shot with my R6 and pretty much only my 70-200. It rained and stormed, so I was a little nervous because I know they say like those both that I just used, they say those are weather sealed, and I've never really tested all that. I don't know how reliable that weather sealing is. So it was definitely raining pretty good while I was running through the parade with this group that I was photographing, and then I would see people along the sidelines with their gear like under the umbrella things or under the like the little bags they put over like the raincoats for them. I just didn't want to do that. That's just a lot of extra stuff for me, and I would have to go buy that. So I just trusted the weather sealing. The second the downpour hit though, and I didn't need to do the whole parade. I was only supposed to do till I got so many photos, and I definitely had reached that. The second it started downpouring, I bolted to go underneath an overhang over a bank, and then it started thundering, and I was like, yeah, that's good. We're good, because I got what I needed. I did have my X100V out for a little bit because it is weather sealed, but then I was just like, it was too much to deal with. And honestly, at that point I was like, I don't need that wide of a frame. So yeah, it seemed to go well. As soon as I was out of the rain, I just had a little cleaning cloth in my bag and I would just wipe it off. And especially because it's 70-200, it zooms, I had to keep like opening the zoom and closing it to get more of the water that would come out. And then I just left it fully out overnight to kind of let it dry out. So it seems all good. We're all good there. On the X106 front, I have been next up on the waiting list at my camera store for a month now. It was the end of, I guess it hasn't been, yep, it has been over a month. It was the end of May. I came back from my trip and said like, hey, where am I at? And they said, you're actually next on our list whenever we get one. I've checked a few times. They were like, we literally just haven't gotten any in the last month. They were like, they just suddenly stopped coming in. So they're like, you are next. You're there. We just haven't gotten any. So I'm frustrated because like they were getting them in every week. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I'm next, they're not getting them in. And I'm like, dang it. They did say it seemed like as soon as that bridge got hit on the East Coast, that's when things seem to be slowing with their supply of things. So that kind of makes sense. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I wanted to update you guys. Like, I was not planning on buying a new laptop. It is what it is, but I did get a student discount. They randomly were like, hey, here's a student discount for you. And I was like, I'm not a student. They were like, we don't care. I was like, okay. So I got that great laptop. And this is a 14-inch, by the way. That's plenty for me. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, and I'm filming on my R8 today because I wanted to see, I know it looks nice. It's just, I don't always want to pull out the whole camera to film. So, but it does look really good, doesn't it?